so pleased to be the moderator tonight, as I am the very happy owner of 2 properties in France, as Mary Monique referenced. I have a home near Grasse, a little town called Opio, a hill town overlooking the Mediterranean above Nice. And I rented that first in 1981, and I purchased it in 1987. I got there because I had taken cooking lessons with Simone Beck and Julia Child in the nearby village of Place Cassier, and my love affair with France came through my love of French cooking. I'm also an extremely spoiled girl because I have an apartment in Paris now since 2001, and it is on the Ile de la Cité, near Notre Dame, overlooking the Seine. And je suis bien dans ma peau en France, and that means France makes me feel fabulous. We're going to hear much about fractional ownership, private club residence membership, and the legal aspects of both owning and investing in a membership organization this evening, and tax implications for Americans from our panel of experts. Much of what I would present to you in terms of legal and tax issues to consider, I'm going to pose as questions to our panelists. And so, just to again identify our panelists, because I was asked to also. Of course, as you've heard, we've got Sam Okoshkin of our Okoshkin Law Firm, who's a member of the New York and the Paris Bar, and he's going to give you the legal guidelines, and I'm just going to tell you one girl's journey in the buying process. Andy Serkin is a lawyer specializing in co-ownership agreements, and he's created many, many fractional ownership groups, both to developers, but get this, also for private families and friends who want to own jointly. Very interesting. And we are going to conclude with a film clip from Walid Halabi, who is the founder and CEO of Paris Residence Club. And Walid's going to tell us how to avoid the hassle of ownership and getting a perch in Paris through a residence club. But what I thought I would do is just tell you about my journey in buying and really what's involved. And the first thing I want to tell you is it's easy. Forget Peter Mayle and all those hassles in Provence. Buying a property in Paris or in the provinces is no harder than it is here. Now, that's stated. I've been in real estate too long, and clearly any transaction is difficult. However, it's just as easy in France as it is here. However, there are major differences along the way, and clearly differences for estate planning. So let's begin. Okay, we're in France. Get yourself a bilingual French real estate broker. Whatever you do, most transactions, interestingly enough, in France are from a particulier, a private owner, who places an ad in the paper, and some other unsuspecting French person answers him. Don't fall into that trap. A real estate broker can really guide you through the process, and you can get lots of tips. Number 2, get yourself a French attorney, or call up Sam Okoshkin, who was licensed in both areas. Most of your American counsels really will not have a clue about French law, and the first thing they will want to do is to be put in touch with a French associate. If you're going to be buying an apartment, you're going to be buying something called a copropriété, which is a hybrid between a condo and a co-op. It will have a syndic, a managing agent. There will be annual meetings. You'll have to do your renovation through the board, but none of this letters of reference and presenting financial statements. If you can afford it, you get in. So that's a plus. Naturally, if you're going to be buying a house in the country, you're buying real property. So start out, do your internet searching, get yourself the broker, and find the place of your dreams. And then you place your bid right through the agent, just like you do here, no difference, and hopefully through some good negotiation, you got your deal. This is when the difference begins. You do not sign a definitive contract as we know it, but most cases a promesse de vente or a compromis de vente. The second, you really have to give up any rights if you do not conclude. But it'd probably be a promesse de vente. And you give a deposit, just like here, of 10%. But today in France, a buyer has 7 days to actually change their mind after they sign. This is called consumer protection. And as of 1979, you have the right to get a mortgage as part of the contract. And if you do opt for that, you have 45 days to get your mortgage. However, there's a real difference here, and it's a great difference. To get a mortgage, you have to take life insurance, which means passing a health exam. And by the way, if you do not take a mortgage, this is France, very old-fashioned, very lots of rules. You have to write, and get this, a handwritten note saying you do not want a mortgage and sign it in handwriting. Okay, so then you've got to get your life insurance and you've got to pass the health exam. So I went to the American hospital in Paris when I was buying my French apartment, and they jabbed at my knees and they looked in my ears and they tested my sight, and I know exactly how much fat I've got to my weight and my height now because I hadn't had to do that. Anyway, I passed it. Okay, here comes the notaire. By the way, that really is great because if you do quote unquote pop off, the mortgage is taken care of and your heirs have got the property. It's not a bad idea. Anyway, here comes the famous notaire. And the notaire works under the Minister of Justice and is appointed by the French state to protect all interests of both parties. A fee is paid, but each party can have their own notaire. And if that's the case, the two notaires split the fee. Your lawyer will be working with the notaire. After the bid has been accepted and the notaire enters, the seller must provide surveys of the property to the notaire. The surface area, and this is great, must be within 5% of the stated surface area. You have asbestos and lead certificates, just like we do here. And yes, termites. There are termites in Paris. We have energy and natural risks, etc. So the notaire produces the title searches. He looks at previous deals to see there are no easements. And generally, in 2 to 3 months, all of this has taken place, at which point you have the actual deed of sale, which is called the acte de vente. You meet together, and this is really different and I think quite fabulous. The notaire reads each page. There you are, your attorneys, the buyer and seller, and then the buyer and seller have to initial the bottom or the side of each page. So when you finally get to the end and you sign, you know exactly, but exactly, what is in that contract of sale. If you've ever signed a big, big document here, 80 pages long, I often wonder what's been slipped in the meantime. In France, they take care of it for you. So the notaire at that point distributes the proceeds, pays the capital gains on behalf of the seller, advises the building manager of a change of ownership if it's an apartment, releases the existing mortgages, pays the broker fee, again capital gains, and the buyer has to pay a 7% fee that covers land registry and fees, and as I said, probably the notaire's fee is going to be split in most instances. And guess what? The keys are handed over, just like here. So the process is indeed very similar. I would like to say that if you do end up buying an apartment in Paris, there are many agencies there that will come in, provide cleaning, sort through your mail when you're not there, et cetera, et cetera. I know of one that's called To Do Today, but there are many such things throughout France. If you do get a place in the country and you're going to have a gardien or a gardener, you are, of course, subject to employee labor laws, and let me tell you, talk to your lawyer about that one. However, somewhere along the line, you've probably by now established a French bank account, and you now can get your 06 mobile number, your portable. That's my badge of membership into the French community. And you have the joys of dealing with the Gaz de France. However, if you begin on your renovation, if you're in an apartment building, you have to give the plans to the board, just like you do here. If you're going to change the outside or windows, you have to go through the municipality. And of course, if you're in the country, you have to go through the mairie and the local community. But I really want to tell you what a simply fabulous experience I had in Paris with my team. Again, they were a French team. I had a French architect. He had 11 subcontractors. I put a couple of little apartments together. I had a French decorator, my grand friend Odile de Chiter, in case she's in the audience. And they really got their priorities right, this team, because every week I would get a 6-page written synopsis of what was going on, and it always began with who was going to bring the petit pain de chocolat for the next week's meeting. So I knew they were really French and they really had their priorities correct. It was really, really grand. Estate planning and owning, I'm going to pose questions on that later. Let me tell you, you can't just leave your apartment who you want to leave it to. And my experts will talk about taxes. But my advice to you is it's not so difficult. There's nothing to fear in this process. But keep it French. They know their country, they know their ways, and use experts. What's the market like right now in France? The market in Manhattan is probably down 25 to 30% in the past year. Market prices are down, transactions are up. What's happening in France? France, generally, I say, certainly Paris I'm going to talk about now, because going around the country, there are just vast differences. Paris usually is about 12% less, I think, than New York. They probably had just a 15% decrease in their market. However, today, if the prices are a little less, and if they're less in Paris, they're less all over, of course, whether you want to go to Marseille or Bordeaux or Lille. With the good rate of the dollar today and lower prices, it probably is a good time to buy in France right now.